again and again, and I'm led to the same conclusion, and it's one I'm not going to say out loud, but I will indicate what it is that I am indicating by first of all giving an example of a it was a podcast I listened to a few days ago, and the podcast involved an interview. It was on the UK column venue, and there was an interview with a former policeman in the UK, an investigator who was on child crimes against children duty, who was there to investigate crimes against children and prosecute those who were found to be guilty of those types of crimes. And he talked about how when he was staying on the fairly low level, he did well, he did fine, he got promoted. But whenever he found connections to people who were moneyed, or people who were powerful, or people who had influence, then his investigation was shut down, and he was bawled out by his superiors for his insolence, and he was demoted or reassigned. And this happened over and over and over again. And as I was listening to this podcast, I was getting, strangely enough, I was getting impatient with this guy's patience, because he was just sort of telling the story. Here's what happened. I did this, I did that, and then when I got into this territory, then when I was imperiling some people who were a little more powerful, then I got told to stuff it, and that I would be reassigned, or that or they in a couple of cases they would say they would try to buy him off. They would say, you'll get it. You deserve a cushy vacation, a paid vacation, and what have you. We know that you're a good dogged investigator, but this isn't for you're treading in the wrong territory here. And this was just a pattern that repeated itself over and over and over again. And then I also flashed back to what one of the investigators of the Franklin scandal, which I won't go into here, but you can look it up. I've referenced it many times before. But he I wish I could remember his name, but he's the one who wrote. He's not around anymore, but he was in Nebraska, I believe, a Nebraska state senator, and a former Vietnam veteran. And he wrote a book called, I believe, not the Franklin scandal, but the Franklin cover-up, maybe. John DeCamp, that's who I'm thinking of. It just came to me. And he recounted this incredible conversation that's still incredible to me to think about, him having this conversation, exchanging these words with the then head of the CIA, who was named Colby, I believe, at the time, who later perished under strange circumstances, interestingly enough. But when DeCamp said, here's what's happening, we've got to do something about this, and it was the same kind of thing, crimes against children, he was told by Colby, look, John, I like you, and and I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but some things are just beyond what you can control. There's some forces that are just too powerful in this world. So, my advice to you here would be just to back off from all of this. Just back off, and admit that you're up against forces that will crush you. There's just too much power here, and you're just one man, and what have you. And the camp, again, according to him, this is his testimony. So although I was going to say it's just his word, but then I think I remember an interview with Colby where he more or less confirmed this conversation. Anyway, he said, no, I can't. I really can't do that. I've got to keep fighting this fight. And then Colby just sort of took a deep breath. He sighed and said, well, okay, but here's what you need to do. You need to document what you're doing. You need to write a book about it and be very public with it. Because if you aren't public, if you go public with it, then it's going to be much harder for them to target you. Because then it will look much more suspicious if suddenly you meet an unfortunate accident. So that's what he did. He wrote the book, and he went on the offensive with the things that he was saying about these various powerful men mostly in the state of Nebraska, but also elsewhere. Not much ever happened to the men who were who he was talking about, who were being accused in this case. Now, those who would say, oh well, that's just, we don't know whether those men are guilty or innocent. Look, if the head of the CIA is saying to you, lay off this because this is bigger than you can handle. There's some evils in this world that are just more than one man can fight, or that you're up against a wall of power. That again, this monolith of power. If those men were innocent, would he say that? Would the head of the CIA say that? Would he not say something like, "John, you're on the wrong track here. Those men that you're accusing of these things are innocent." So corroboration there that it's all real. That this broader phenomenon of pedogate is real. So anyhow. What I've cited are just a couple of examples of this trend of people either saying to somebody who's who's doing the right thing, who's on the right track, who's going to nail these people, who are doing unspeakable, ungodly things to children, boys and girls alike, who are saying to them, okay, back off. This isn't free. This isn't your fight. This is bigger than you, and so forth. So then you're left with a choice. It always used to bother me when people would say, you have two choices, because a choice means you can choose one thing or another. That was me being a little bit pedantic, but I guess you can still say you have two choices. You can have choice A or choice B, but anyhow, that's a different matter. That's an irrelevant matter. That's something much less important than the main thing I'm talking about here. You've got a choice as to how to look at this. You can either say, well, we're supposed to follow the law, and if the law is corrupted, then we just do what we can to stay within the letter of the law, because law and order is important. And law, you might be a religious person who will point to verses of Scripture which say, law is established by God. Or you could just say pragmatically, if we don't follow the letter of the law, then it's, every man for himself, and it's cultural chaos, and that's not a good thing either. So you've got to have respect for lack of a better word, to indulge in a cliche, law and order. Okay, but when law and order fail, in the worst possible way, and it's not just that they fail because of a technicality or something that can be a loophole that can be adjusted, but rather you have cases like this where they clearly are failing because those who have the true power, those who are really pulling, who really have the leash around the chiefs of police, the various supposedly authoritative sources, those who are truly running the show, they are, in fact, the worst possible people engaged in the worst possible crimes, and they're going to protect themselves. They have the power to do it. They will use that power to do it, and children will go on being hurt. And if you're the law and order kind of person, then I guess you just have to say, well, then we leave those people to God, right? We leave them to God, even if they get away with, even if they keep getting away with it on this earth, they won't get away with it in the next life. That doesn't work for me. That's not a good enough answer for me. Okay. So the other choice is, of course, vigilantism, which is a dangerous proposition, obviously. I said I wasn't going to hint. I said I was only going to hint at what I was talking about, so I guess I just went ahead and did more than hint, didn't I? Vigilantism itself can be dangerous. It can go. It can get out of one's control. It can become just arbitrary. It can become something where someone just applies what they think to be the truth, as opposed to what overwhelmingly has revealed itself to be the truth about the evil of some of these people. So vigilantism can't be, misdirected. It can't be sloppy. And to me, there's something about, even these, even if you want to talk about shooting sprees, whatever they are, whatever the ideology, supposed ideology of the supposed shooter is in each of these cases, it's never somebody, it's never, or very rarely, somebody punching up, as they say. It's always just some schlub taking out a bunch of other schlubs at a Walmart or at a at a mall or in a movie theater or or whatever. And when I say schlubs, I don't mean that demeaningly. I mean, it's somebody who doesn't seem to have a lot of power, himself or herself, shooting a bunch of other people who don't seem to have a lot of power. You know, what does that accomplish? What does that help? If you've got some kind of goal in mind of justice, how is justice achieved? By just randomly targeting a bunch of people who are just out on their daily routine, some of whom might be good people, some of whom might be bad people, but there's no reason to suspect that the bad people are all bad people who have done terrible things to children are all concentrated in, you know, in a particular mall or in a particular movie theater or whatever. So I think it's needed, but what is needed is what needs to be done, what must be done. There must be a certain kind of person in mind who would do it, and that kind of person, you know, can't just be. And by the way, I'm just talking about in Minecraft. For all of this, I'm just talking about in Minecraft, and I'm talking hypothetically about a hypothetical world, because we obviously don't live in a world that's ruled by evil pedophiles who control everything. We obviously don't live in that world. But just hypothetically, if we did live in such a world, then the person who's going to execute this kind of justice that cannot be executed under the law because the law itself is so deeply corrupted that nobody who is above a certain pay grade ever pays for their crimes in any way, regardless of what they do. You know, I don't believe, obviously not everybody is called to take part in that kind of action, but there must be some people who are called to take part in that kind of action, and you know, it's a dicey thing, obviously, figuring out who is ripe to commit those kinds of acts and who isn't, who it is appropriate to you know what I'm saying, in a hypothetical world to do that kind of thing. So anyway, those are my uncomfortable thoughts. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. But always remember to attach the hypothetically speaking, you know, or in Minecraft or in a video game, not in real life. Always be sure to attach those needful disclaimers. That's it. Thanks.